The summer of 1940. Europe was burning. Cities that once echoed with laughter were now filled with smoke and silence. France had fallen. Belgium had fallen. And as Nazi flags rose across the continent, one nation stood alone, Britain. The world watched, breathless. Would the island nation surrender? Or would it fight back? Adolf Hitler was certain that victory was near. His Luftwaffe, the most powerful air force in the world, had crushed every opponent before. Britain, he thought, would be no different. All he needed to do was destroy the Royal Air Force, the RAF, and the path to invasion would be open. But what the German High Command underestimated was not the number of planes Britain had, but the spirit of the men who flew them. Over quiet English villages, young pilots trained day and night in aircraft that would soon become legend, the Supermarine Spitfire. Sleek, fast, agile. Its engine roared like a beast, and its wings cut through clouds like blades of light. When the first German bombers crossed the English Channel, the people below heard the distant hum, a sound that would soon haunt their dreams. Sirens screamed across London, Dover, and Portsmouth. Civilians ran for cover, anti-aircraft guns pointed toward the sky. And above them, the Battle of Britain began. From the cockpit of a Spitfire, the world was both beautiful and terrifying. A young pilot named Alan, only 21 years old, stared through the glass canopy at hundreds of black dots moving toward him, the German Luftwaffe. His heartbeat matched the vibration of the engine. His radio crackled to life. Enemy formation sighted. All units, engage. Alan pushed the throttle. The Spitfire leapt forward, its engine screaming. The sky exploded with chaos. Machine guns roared, tracer bullets streaked through the air like lightning. Smoke trails spiraled down to the sea below. Every second in that sky was life or death. There was no mercy, no retreat. Only courage. Down below, families listened from bomb shelters, praying for the boys above them. Mothers clutched rosaries, children hid under blankets, and every night the same question filled their hearts: would Britain survive tomorrow? The Luftwaffe attacked relentlessly. They came in waves, hundreds of bombers escorted by deadly Messerschmitt fighters. But for every bomber that crossed the channel, a Spitfire was waiting. The dogfights were brutal. Pilots faced not just the enemy but exhaustion, hunger, and fear. They sometimes flew 5 or 6 missions in a single day. Each takeoff could be their last. Alan's voice trembled over the radio. "I'm hit. I'm losing altitude." His squadron leader's reply was calm. "Keep her steady, lad. We've got your back." That was the bond between these men, a brotherhood forged in smoke and fire. They fought not for medals, not for glory, but for each other. By mid-August, the battle had reached its peak. The Germans were confident they would crush the RAF within days. They called it Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain. But the British were fighting with more than just planes. They were fighting with radar, a new technology that allowed them to detect enemy aircraft long before they reached the coast. It was Britain's invisible shield, and it changed everything. Every blip on the radar meant danger. Every sound of the siren meant life or death. Yet, despite endless attacks, Britain refused to fall. London, however, paid the heaviest price. The Blitz had begun. Night after night, bombs fell like rain. Whole neighborhoods turned to ash. Fires burned through the night sky. Yet even as the city burned, the people stood firm. In one iconic moment, Winston Churchill looked toward the burning capital and said the words that would echo through history: "Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few." Those few were the RAF pilots, the defenders of Britain. And the Spitfire, their sword in the sky. The Luftwaffe was relentless, but the British pilots were faster, sharper, and braver than anyone could have imagined. Every sortie was a battle against both the enemy and the limits of human endurance. Fuel was low, guns jammed, wings damaged, yet the pilots flew again and again. Alan climbed into his Spitfire, body aching, hands blistered from gripping the controls. Around him, the airfield was alive with tension. Engines roared, mechanics shouted over the chaos, and the radar station crackled urgent warnings. Enemy bombers approaching from the south, forming a massive wave. The sky, once calm, now churned with dark silhouettes. Hundreds of German bombers, escorted by swarms of Messerschmitts, filled the horizon. This was the largest attack yet, the one the Luftwaffe believed would finally crush Britain. "Engage!" came the command. And the heavens erupted. Spitfires dived and twisted, threading through clouds and tracer fire. Bombers exploded in bursts of flame, falling toward the sea, leaving trails of black smoke. Messerschmitts chased them relentlessly, trying to break formations. Pilots screamed over the radio, calling for support, dodging bullets that could end their lives in an instant. Allen's Spitfire rocked violently. A shell tore through the fuselage, ripping a gash in the wing. The plane shuddered, but he held steady, lining up a shot at a bomber below. Tracer fire streaked across the sky, a deadly ballet of fire and metal. The bomber erupted into flames. Another life saved below. Minutes felt like hours. The battle raged without pause. Each maneuver required split-second decisions. Every wrong move could mean death. And yet, despite exhaustion and fear, the RAF held its ground. Below, London endured night after night of bombing. Fires raged, buildings crumbled, but the people's spirit never wavered. Mothers shielded their children, neighbors helped one another, and even in the darkest hours, the determination to survive shone brighter than any blaze. By September, the Luftwaffe began to realize that Britain would not break easily. Their losses were mounting. Elite pilots were gone, planes destroyed, morale shattered. The RAF, though outnumbered, had turned the tide. The once feared German air machine was faltering under the courage of a few hundred determined men and their remarkable aircraft. Allen returned to the airfield, his Spitfire battered, smoke still curling from the engine. Around him, fellow pilots gathered, eyes tired but gleaming with victory. They had fought the impossible and prevailed. The Battle of Britain was over, though its scars would remain. Over 1,700 British aircraft were lost, hundreds of brave pilots had given their lives, yet their courage had saved a nation and changed the course of history. Hitler's plan for invasion was halted, and the world's future remained uncertain, but Britain had survived. The Spitfires, those sleek silver-winged guardians of the sky, became symbols of hope and defiance. Pilots like Allen were remembered not just for their skill, but for their unwavering courage in the face of overwhelming odds. As the sun set over the English countryside, Allen looked up at the sky, once filled with smoke and death, now calm and golden. He whispered quietly, almost to himself, "We held the line." Because in the end, history is not only written by those who conquer, but by those who stand, fight, and refuse to surrender. The Battle of Britain was not just a clash of planes, it was a battle of spirit, determination, and courage. The few who rose into the sky that summer, who faced death every day, ensured that freedom endured. They fought so that generations yet unborn could live, laugh, and hope. They flew not for glory, but for survival, for family, for their country. And in doing so, they became legends. Their story remains a testament to the human spirit, resilient, daring, and unbroken. When the skies cleared and the last German bomber had been driven away, Britain stood tall. The island, battered but unbowed, had proven that courage and determination could defy even the most terrifying odds. The few had won the many, and the world remembered. The Battle of Britain had shown that in moments of darkness, bravery can shine brighter than the sun, and that ordinary men with extraordinary courage can change the course of history forever. Allen lowered his visor, the echoes of battle fading behind him. He knew the war was far from over, but that day, Britain had survived. That day, the Spitfire had soared as a symbol of hope, and the spirit of the few had carried a nation through the storm. And so, when the sky fell silent, and the smoke cleared, the world remembered. The heroes of the Battle of Britain had risen from the clouds and carved their names into history, not with swords, but with wings and unwavering courage.